I had a German subscriber which contacted me a while ago, and he was telling me how when Merkel was in office, he went to this fair. And at this fair, they had a place where they were mocking politicians, and Angela Merkel was depicted in a very caricaturistic balloon. It was very similar to the Donald Trump blimp in London. And this German guy was thinking like, wow, I'm so lucky to live in Germany. I am so lucky to live in a nation that respects human rights. It respects the freedom of expression. It respects the freedom of speech. Unlike in China. Like in China, you get in trouble if you compare Chairman Z to Winnie the Pooh. Unlike Russia, like in Russia, you get in trouble if you make fun of certain moguls. Right? This is Germany. It is a land of a civilized nation. Fast forward to the present, and the owner of the social media website Gab publishes how the police, the authorities, were demanding the information of an account which called one of the members of the Green fat. Now, they're not saying whether or not that's true, but the simple fact that, like, how can you? How dare you? Like, you're in Germany. Where do you think you are? And again, in this situation, members of the Greens are also saying that it's not okay that this person has insulted their honor by calling them smelly, I believe. It's a play on words. I can't really understand it because you actually need to speak German in order to get the pun. But it seems to be a very expensive pun. It seems to be a malpractice of comedy, if you will, right? Like, just like doctors can botch a surgery, so too, if you're a comedian, you can botch the joke, and you have to pay, in this situation, 6,000 euros. I don't know how rich the Germans are. I don't know how wealthy they are, but in Romania, this would be crippling. Now, what's interesting, see, I have like these very backwards mentality, this backward thinking that the politicians are there to serve the public, like they are public servants. So, the people are paying the politicians. Like, literally, the politician gets to put food in his mouth and food on his table through the taxpayer of the people, because the politician is not an entity capable of producing wealth. They're not in the private sector, they're in the public sector. So they shouldn't be treated like royalty. But apparently in Germany, from my understanding, there is a law where you cannot harm the honor of the politician. So exactly like in China, Chairman Z is in a prestigious place. So too the German politicians have this level of prestige. Now, I don't know if all politicians are the same in Germany, because I understand like some are more politician than others. Like, for instance, I see in the newspapers all the time members of the AfD being called Nazis, being called all sorts of things. Again, I'm not a German, so I generally don't know their politics or what. But I'm looking at the legislation, and I understand no one is above the law, and it should be applied across the board, right? Or maybe, like, you can call someone fascistic, you can call someone a Nazi, you can call someone, like, all these evil things, but you can't call them fat. Like, we draw a line at the word fat, or smelly, right? Like, they may be Nazi, but they're probably clean. So, like, the reason that this concerns me is that I'm part of the European Union, unfortunately. So, I don't like the fact that I'm looking towards the West and I see the same tactics that are in China and in other authoritarian nations like Turkey, for instance, right? Where you cannot insult politicians, you do not have freedom of speech. I mean, a lot of leftists, they worship the altar of human rights. And unfortunately for them, freedom of speech and freedom of expression is consecrated by the United Nations as a human right. But they will always say, well, yeah, it is a human right, but... And the list keeps growing, to the point where, is it really a right? I mean, like if you can't even insult the politicians. Because the thing is, like, when you talk about politics, the conversations get heated, right? Like politicians have the ability of crippling your lifestyle. One year, everything is fine. The next year, the taxes rise. The next year, you have inflation. And all of a sudden, your lifestyle goes to shit. So they can do all that, but you can't even say an insult, right? I'm genuinely curious. Do things like the Charlie Hebdo are still allowed in Europe? Like I don't know, that was in France, right? Wasn't in Germany? True, but is something like that allowed in Germany? Like, what is the extent that the citizens have freedom of expression in Germany at this point? I'm genuinely curious. Like, what are the things you're not allowed to say? And do they keep adding things to that list, or has the list stopped? Like, is there something you can say now, but 6 months from now they will add it onto that list? Who gets to make these decisions? The politicians, I guess, right? Which decides that you cannot insult the politicians. Fascinating. No, but seriously, if you're a German, listen to me. Do this thought experiment, right? Like, this is homework from me to you. It's fascinating when you try it. Go to a German and tell them about a case where someone got in trouble for free speech, whether in China or Russia. Right? Like, tell them about a situation where someone made fun of Chairman Z and they got arrested. Or, even better, if you have grandparents that are still alive who lived under communism in East Germany beyond the wall, and they know someone who got in trouble for being disrespectful towards the Communist Party or towards Stalin, and they got in trouble with the Stasi, right? Tell them that story and see how they react. And usually, if it's about China, if it's about Russia, it's about other places, they will say, wow, like that's really bad. Wow, those countries so authoritarian. We're so lucky that we live in Germany. Oh, Deutschland, yeah. And then tell them something about Germany. Tell them this story, for instance. Tell them the one with the German authorities demanding the personal information of an account that called one of their politicians chubby. I mean, it's horrible. It's dreadful. How could those people live like that? When are they going to progress and reach our level of civilization where we have freedom and liberty and democracy? Oh, we have democracy, all of the democracy. And then when you tell them stuff that's happening now, they will be like, well, I mean, it's understandable, it's justifiable. Why did he have to insult the politician? I mean, why did he have to say that? I mean, you can surely express your political opinions while being a little bit more civilized. Yeah, a lot of Romanians are like, we want a country like outside. But the more I look outside, the more I'm happy that I live here. Like, here we can still say whatever we want about our politicians. And our politicians are mature enough in order not to throw a hissy fit. You're already a politician. You already get all those privileges. You already get all those perks. You're already making a lot of cash. Oh, the peasantry are upset that they're insulting you. Oh, goodness gracious, that's so horrible. I know, we need to pass legislation to protect ourselves from that, to insulate ourselves from the peasants even more. You think like we're going to get the monarchy back? Not in name, but like, you're looking at what's happening in France, right? Where Macron is unpopular, but he still manages to remain in power. And the people that won the elections is not going to name a prime minister from them, right? Like, you have like these people, the career politicians that seem to be perpetual in power, like nonstop, and they surround themselves with a group of people that are to the point where you can't even insult them, you can't even joke at their expense because you get in trouble with the legal system. So like, I'm just wondering, like, is Europe going to return to the monarchy? We can still have like a class that's the aristocrats, and then you have the peasantry, and let me know. I'm genuinely curious about it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section. Take care.